It's helping young people get positioned to be successful in life. And ultimately, that's what I want to do. I love sports. I know y'all love it. And I'm always love it. But what happens when that's over is concerning to me too. Words and playing with the F.O.E.S.U.P letters. And I discovered families overcoming environmental shortcomings and unveiling purpose. So that's what I did with those letters. Then I created the nonprofit, and here we are. So the nonprofit is going to be an academy. We're going to be a resource for communities, for kids, for families. We're going to dive into entrepreneurism, STEM stuff, and just be a complete support system for families and kids to come to. You know, because I realize dealing with kids, and I get so many calls about stuff, going through the recruiting process. Kids being depressed, kids being upset, kids being hurt, want to leave this school, want to do that I realize I'm having that conversation literally every day, you know what I mean? So to create a platform and a center that you can come to, that you know is there every day, you can just come to, you know, for SAT workshops, we're going to do a whole lot of different things. But we're going to touch on that tonight. So tonight is about letting them know, if you don't already know, if you're not already having that conversation, that you're more than happy. That's something you do. That's not who you are. That's something you do. If you just happen to do it really well, it's going to take you a lot of places, and that's a blessing. But ultimately, you're more than that, and we want you guys to invest in those other areas that you love to do. If you're great with your hands, you can do great doing that. If you're great with people, you can start something and do great with that. So don't limit yourself to just sports. We're bigger than that. We're going to get started. So I want to introduce. It's one thing I realized putting this event together. You know when they say you're as good as the people you're surrounded by? And I was thinking of panelists that I wanted, or specific things that I wanted. And it wasn't hard at all. I reached out to some friends that I've been knowing most of my life. And I realized what a great circle I'm surrounded by. You know, a circle of people, man. So they made it easy. And when I called them, every one of them was locked in right now. I'll be there. I appreciate that, man, from all of y'all. Every one of y'all. So we're going to start with the first one. Overseer Antoine Carter, one of the most dynamic, charismatic, prolific orators in the ministry today. He is the founder, chief executive officer, pastor, and adored leader of International Restorative Breach Ministries, one of the fastest growing churches in Las Vegas. As a skillful teacher, Overseer Carter uses a unique approach and ministry style to birth life into the people through the revelation of the gospel. Please welcome Antoine Carter. Our next panelist is Sharonda Longino Terry. She's a board-certified family nurse practitioner, specializing in cosmetic care and concentration in dermatology. She completed her Bachelor of Science in Nursing at Clayton University of Georgia, then on to a Master of Science degree at South University of Georgia. Graduation, what is that, convoluted. In her spare time, she enjoys volunteering in community-based organizations and emergency readiness projects. Please welcome Sharonda Longino Terry. Our next panelist, James Pleasure III, has worked in the waste industry for 24 years, spending the last 15 years in senior management roles. James has supported several area youth organizations by participating as assistant coach, player sponsor, and providing game film services. Please welcome James Pleasure. Our next panelist, Monique Smith, grew up in Palmdale. At the young age, her passion was sports. Her vision, her freshman year at Highland, she made varsity softball team and knew from that moment that softball will take her far. She went on to receive a full scholarship to play softball at Grambling. Monique completed her bachelor's degree in marketing from Grambling State. Please welcome Monique Smith. Our next panelist, Tommy Sykes, has been part of the fitness industry since age 7 when he started playing organized sports. He joined the military at the age of 20 and learned respect, discipline, honor, courage, and duty of others. After his service in the military, Tommy earned a degree in sociology and minor in exercise sports science at Western State College in Colorado. Tommy gives back to the community, volunteering his time, coaching sports, participating in local fundraising events. Please welcome Tommy Sykes. Our next panelist is Joanna Miles. Joanna is the founder of Girl Power, Inc., an organization that proudly partners with our community to save our girls. One of the goals of her organization is to open the lines of communication between mother and daughters, to build healthy relationships, confidence, self-esteem, and most importantly, God-fearing ladies. Please welcome Joanna Miles. Our next panelist is Christian Richards III. Christian was born and raised in McCormick Terrace. He attended the University of Michigan on an athletic scholarship. Christian graduated from Stony Brook University with a Bachelor of Arts in History. He was a practice squad player for the Seattle Seahawks during the 2010 season. He has been in the financial industry since 2011. Please welcome Christian Richards. Who are you? Give us a little bit about your background. What do you do now? Where are you at in the world?
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you, DT, for the platform, for bringing all of us here together, and thank you everybody for showing up and supporting. This is a great event. I think opening up conversations that really need to be had, and I really need to put it together. A little bit about myself. Born and raised here in the San Fernando Valley. Went to school at high school, at Memorial High School in Magnet. Graduated in 2005. to receive an athletic football scholarship to the University of Michigan. Finished my undergraduate career at Stony Brook University, a small research institution in Long Island, New York. And after that, I moved to Seattle Seahawks and been in the financial services industry since 2011.
Keep in mind, I got one question for you. So, you stated that you went to the University of Michigan.
Yes, sir.
So, and you also stated that you finished at Stony Brook. So tell us a little bit about what transpired.
First, I want to let you all know, I went to Michigan, we were still Michigan. Right? Back in 05, I played in a couple of Rose Bowl games, so the Michigan that you guys are gotten used to over this last decade, my era was pre that. I took a kind of a circuitous route, if you will, to graduation at Stony Brook University. My sophomore year, I was a party to an incident in the dorms. I got into a fight with a fellow student. From that, I was subsequently charged with assault and battery. As a result, got kicked out of school, lost my scholarship. And my story really is kind of a cautionary tale in some respects, but also a tale of redemption, right? Because that brief, kind of moment of immaturity I had worked for since I was 5 years old, right? Growing up here in Pacoima, playing youth sports here at the dam, and being one of the lucky ones who matriculated to get the D1 kind of scholarship. And from there, kind of long story short, I got an opportunity to finish my degree and finish my athletic career at Stony Brook. I took it. And that's kind of one of the things that, I didn't know we were going to jump into it this quickly, but one of the things, just a piece of advice I would give to some of the young guys and young ladies I see in the audience here is stay true to yourself, right? Because there was a certain way that I always carried myself, and a certain work ethic that I was instilled with that allowed me to see early success in my life, right? It wasn't until I started to get away from some of those tenets that my parents instilled with me that led me to that incident, that situation, and like I said, shortly for a short amount of time, losing everything I had kind of worked for. So that's how I went from University of Michigan to Stony Brook University. Kind of used that incident as a foothold to one, growth, and then two, to kind of bring back my focus, right, to be academically focused and not just athletically focused.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you're currently into right now.
How you guys doing today? Appreciate this, DT. My name is Tommy Sykes. Originally, I was born in Kankakee, Illinois. Then I grew up in LA, in Lake Terrace, in Canoga Park. I went to Montclair Prep, and from Montclair Prep, I went to Santa Monica Junior College, and I was there. I was an athlete, didn't really pay attention to school too much, and then I ended up going to the military. And from the military, I played football while I was out there. I got deployed overseas in Turkey, and then I made it back to California. Went to Pierce College, and then I earned a scholarship to Western Colorado University. And from there, came back to California and had little odd jobs here and there, but my heart was always into fitness and helping the community. And then I started my business at a park. I had one client, I called it a boot camp, for about a year. And then from that one client, it spiraled and it turned to now I probably trained over like 3,000 people. And currently the pandemic has shown me who I really am. And this is the most successful year I've had out of all years. So.
All right, thank you. Pass the mic to James Blake, please. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're at in life, what you're currently doing, a little bit about yourself.
Sure, thank you. Before I get started, I want to say I want to give honor to God and thank TT for inviting me to participate in this panel with these guests here. I also want to show appreciation to each and every person that brought a mind here today that sees the value in not only their skills and ability, but the mentorship and being able to listen to the stories that we're providing today. So thank you, TT, and thank you everyone for showing up today. My name is James Pleasure III. I'm born and raised in Pacoima, California. Today I am a very fortunate and successful executive in the waste and recycling industry. Currently working for the city of Culver City as an environmental programs and operation assistant manager. Prior to working for Culver City, I worked in the private sector for over 20 years in various roles. Similar to a lot of you here today, I started off just like most of you as a kid with a dream. My dream was to be a professional athlete, like so many of us up here as well as in the audience. And it's interesting, right, is what happens in life. It didn't work out that way. Unfortunately for me, I stopped growing at the age of 13. What was once the best player on my team ended up having to become a role player, and then just dealing with that struggle led me to make some bad decisions that resulted in me joining the game, being incarcerated, living that whole life, and then unfortunately being able to bounce back and start a career in which that I've been able to support my family for the last 20 plus years.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sharonda Terry. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little background on you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity because you know this is my husband, and he knows how hard it is for me to speak in a large group. So the same way that he is mentoring you guys and helping and motivating and inspiring you guys to pass your peers, he also does that within me. So that's why I adore my husband. He's the most kind-hearted and gentle man that I know. So I just wanted to, thank you for this opportunity and allow me just the platform to speak to you. So a little bit about me. I hail from Atlanta, Georgia. And in Atlanta, Georgia, I had an athletic career. Some people who are the football people would say that cheerleading or competitive cheerleading was not necessarily a sport, but I'm here to tell you it took a lot of skill to tumble. I was actually a part of one of the black schools in Atlanta that did start a whole tumbling pass. There was no school in my area that were tumbling, so we kind of ventured out into different aspects of cheer because we thought that, like most people, it was something that you only did on the sideline, but there is a competitive component to it. I also did not necessarily limit myself to cheerleading. I like volleyball, or I was just an athletic person. So I did volleyball, I did soccer, and none of those actually led me to any type of collegiate financial aid. So that was a little bit hard for me because I did think that I was skilled enough to get some sort of partial scholarship, some sort of partial assistance into college, but luckily my mom made sure that I kept my grades up and I was able to get, we had a home scholarship back in Georgia, and I went to HBCU. I started my career at Savannah State University, And then I went to Clayton State University because Savannah State did not have a nursing program, and that's what my career is now. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I got my degree at South University, where I got my master's degree. And here I am today in California, living the dream with this man.
Well, welcome. I'm glad everybody came out. Again, thank you, DT. I'm extremely proud of you and extremely proud of this event and to be a part of it. My name is Joanna Miles. I also grew up here in Pacoima, San Fernando. I'm fortunate that my mom is here with me today and my son. My mom is 81. And I had 3 other brothers, older brothers. I didn't have any sisters, and they were all athletic. And they actually used to beg my mom not to let me run because I would come in last. So that was embarrassing for the Armstead family, but whatever. But anyway, I was a cheerleader guru, I would call that. I even started coaching in the 8th grade. I took all the championships, proudly. But anyway, we won't go there. But anyway, I went to Cal State Northridge. I actually cheered at Cal State Northridge. But I feel like God blessed me with the gift of doing hair. And I started working under a young lady named Joanne Gray, and I was just tugged by that. And so I after a year and a half at Cal State Northridge, I began doing hair. And my mom and dad, I told them I was very interested in becoming a salon owner. And then they fortunately helped me open my first salon, Center of Attention, and pretty much I've been in business since I've been 22 years old. And I've never worked for anybody, and back then I didn't know that that was a blessing, but looking back over 20 years, now I go, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. So that was all really an accident, because I didn't even know that word, but I'm very fortunate. You know, now it's cute to be like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. No, back then I was just like, oh, I'm opening the shop. But I'm very grateful for my journey, and that's how my gift directed me into my purpose of birthing or founding This Is Girl Power, because I felt like every young girl should have an opportunity for their mom and dad to believe in them, because I believe that that is the first foundation to believe that you can become whoever you want to be. And I think that's important to inspire your kids and support them to become the woman that they can become. And that's what This Is Girl Power is.
First of all, again, I know DT ain't gonna tell me thank you, man, but I appreciate you for really reaching out. Like you said, as soon as you call me, I'm like, tell me a little bit about it. I'm on board. So it was good for me. But my name is Antoine Carter. I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. Raised in Pacoima, California, in the Van Nuys Apartments. So learning things about yourself that you need to grow up in. And so within that time frame, that's when I ran into a man by the name of Jesus Christ. And he began to mature me and teach me about me, in spite of me not having a father, etc. And so from that point, I was at a church for 13 years. In 2008, I started my own church. And here I am today, trying to let someone encourage somebody that you can be more than an athlete, and don't stop just with sports.
I'm the last one. Just to start off, just to say, you know, thank you for everybody coming out, and it's an honor and a blessing to just be sitting here with these beautiful people and their stories. You know, you guys came here to get some value, and we came here to impact, and that's what we're here to do. So, my name once again is Monique. I grew up in Palmdale, California. I was born here in the San Fernando Valley, but we ended up moving, and I've always had a passion for I ended up making varsity my first year in softball, very natural at it, and I really liked being a part of a team. And I ended up graduating. I went to a junior college out in Arizona, get my foot in the door. And, you know, personally, I think it's a great step for people who are still trying to find out what they want to do, taking that step to go to a junior college, because it does mean you still have another chance. And that's exactly what I got. I ended up going to Grambling State afterwards on a full scholarship as well. So.
As a football player since you were 5 years old, and all of a sudden you are 30 and you are no longer a football player. Who are you? How does that affect your spirit? How much of what you're going through is pride, false pride, or mental health? Can you give it more of a definition or a look or a feel?
That was deep and layered, so I'll try my best, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do as good a job. To anything, a lot of men, you know, even talking about after sports, or whether sports is never in the play, you know, I know as a man, you know, a lot of my value is tied up, for me anyway, into the type of father I am, right? The type of the father that my boys think that I am, and the type of father that my family thinks that I am. A lot of my value is tied up in, you know, what I do, right? My profession. And I think that's the case with a lot of people. So any time where you have a stop or a loss of something that you believe, you know, kind of speaks to the value that you have, that's going to, you know, play into the way you interact with people. That's going to play into how you see yourself, how well you sleep at night, the way that you treat your body. And I would argue that all of those things kind of play into someone's general mental health. You know, someone in the medical profession can probably speak to that even better than me, but that's kind of my take on it. I think the mental health, the pride, it's all kind of wrapped into, you know, creating, individually or, you know, as parents, creating what our children, or how our children value themselves.
What I wanted to add to that real quick is we do have Pastor Antoine up here, and what I wanted to say to that is I grew up in church, and I do feel like you have to also, add to what you say, if you're a faith believer, you have to me, with my kids, I try to add God in the center of their life. Because, like you said, with your value system, they have to have something other than football or stuff to hold on to. Like, there's been plenty times I had to tell my son, get on your knees. You know what I'm saying? Because when you deal with coaches, you're still dealing with people. And then, me personally, I have experience watching someone trying to break my son. And sometimes when we say mental health, we think, oh, somebody crazy. No, it doesn't mean you crazy. It's somebody that's preying on your mind and trying to break your spirit, and somebody trying to tell you who you can't be, or who you're not gonna be, or who you are. And when somebody is preying on that has so much control over the team, the teacher telling you ain't gonna be nothing when you grow up, that bothers with your mental status. And to me, my encouragement comes with making sure your kids have that faith in God. And more importantly, you have to be the biggest coach in their life. It's one thing to put them on the field and letting people tell them what they're good at, but those words have to be the strongest coming from mom and dad.
So now he has to put that down, because if he expresses it, then people are going to view him a certain way. So we constantly keep covering these things up. But I believe that the only way to deal with it, or to decipher between what is actually mental and what is actually things that could be addressed and dealt with by way of opening up our mouths and communicating to the individuals, we need to have that dialogue. Because oftentimes stuff that we think is mental health is literally just someone needing to open up and express, or having someone they feel comfortable with expressing personal things that they know they wouldn't be able to talk about in front of their mom or in front of their dad, but just having, because most of the time the things that are irritating or maybe frustrating to the individual, whether male or female, most of the time it has something to do with the two people that are close to them. So if the two people that are close to them is the very reason why they feel the way they feel, how can they express that without making the problem worse? Because now the very person that they love and adore may be upset with how they really feel about some of the decisions that their parents made. So I believe that we have to open up and have some type of dialogue, because without doing that, then we will start categorizing people that need medication, when in actuality, you just need to talk to your mom and talk about those situations and the moves that she made that really affected you, but because you was a kid and your mama was grown, you just had to go with it. But no one ever took the time to ask you, how did you feel about the decision? You see what I'm saying? So these are the things that we have to take our time and do. And I think that if you're a student athlete and you're feeling some type of way with any situation, whether it be parents, divorce, etc., you need to really sit down and say, Mom, it's okay, can we dialogue about this? I understand you're grown and you did what you did, but this is how it affected me, and this is how I'm feeling. Can you help me get out of this state? In other words, all they need is just some reaffirming from their parents that in spite of what they went through, I still got you and I still love you. And yes, it's okay to feel that way. You're not wrong, you're not strange, and I do apologize if I allowed myself to make a decision that caused you to be that way. Amen.
And I would just say, just to add a couple of points to what everyone said, some of the things that are visible to a loved one would be anger, right? So if you have someone that is normally a positive person and you see that out of nowhere they're starting to become a more angry person, then that could be a sign that something's going on. Another thing would be someone that's upbeat and outgoing, becoming more distant and more silent. That's another sign of there could be a potential for a mental health situation going on. So these are just some of the things that individuals should look for. If a person does really well in school and for whatever reason, either their grades are slipping and or they're not attending school, that's another sign that should be looked into to see if there's something from a mental health standpoint that's creating the change in those behavioral traits.
You have the opportunity to go and punch a wall, punch a person, or you have the opportunity to talk about it. So that's mental toughness. And you need mental toughness, and sometimes people take it the other way and they'll take it out on somebody. Because I know somebody who was very quiet. He was, you never think he had heard a fly, but somebody said the wrong thing to him and he busted the guy right in his face. Next thing you know, he was out of school. But at the end of the day, when we talked to him about the situation, he said he didn't want to be at the school. So that's a part of the mental health, which is not crazy, is normal, but that's a mental health situation because you're just bottling up inside. And so that's another thing. You got to just communicate. And like for me, personally, my mental issues that I had, I would take it out on the field. It might end up somebody's rib being broke or something, legally, because I was a safety and I would smash the receiver. So I would take my mental health issues and make it into mental toughness, but it depends on the individual at the end of the day.
From my experience of mental health, it typically deals with the ability or the inability for a person to cope with whatever is occurring in their lives. So say, we, like you said, we do have different feelings such as pride, such as ego. You have all of these feelings, but the inability to cope with those feelings and to figure out how to move past those feelings, that is where mental health is. Because they don't have that ability, they don't have the resources, they can't do it on their own. Even with different cognitive or different therapies to kind of retrain the way that you think or give you different tools to kind of help you through those things. Some people can't make it past that, and that's totally okay. They do have pediatric, psychiatric, mental health nurse practitioners as well as psychiatrists that are there to give you medication, and I know that is such a taboo thing. within Black and brown communities, and just in general, medicine has had a hard year this year. However, there are tools or there are things that we have in medicine that do work. I have seen patients who have taken their medication and they do notice that they have a clear thoughts and more purposeful thoughts. So there is a space for people who have issues that cannot cope with their feelings and they don't know how to move past them. So that to me is mental health. Kids develop throughout their lifespan. Kids are definitely going through a lot more health issues than previous or than we've known before. Kids have things such as diabetes, they're dealing with obesity, they're dealing with congenital heart disorders, but they still have that desire to want to play sports. Well, then therefore, there's a mental health capacity or there's a mental, there's some sort of, I guess, insecurity or some sort of feelings that they may feel as far as when it relates to playing sports. Even when you get to the teenage years and kids want to be faster or they want to excel in sports, they may dibble and dabble in black market things such as steroids or other things to enhance their performance, and those have ended in very tragic situations. So that's something that as parents I have to tell you just to watch out for. Even kids wanting to silence thoughts or things that they may be feeling about being inadequate for whatever sports they're playing, they may turn to some sort of drug usage. So you definitely want to make sure that, as a parent, you are a part of this whole process, because kids can get into a lot of different things, and with the access of the internet, I mean, they could definitely click on a button and have it at the house and you never really even know what's going on. So, just wanted to kind of touch on that as far as how it relates to mental health and how it just can be presented in different aspects.
Raising 2 kids, 3 kids, but a son especially, who's at University of Utah. How did you shield them from that culture? How did you, what example were you for them? Because you have that experience. So I'm sure there's some kids going through that now.
Sure, I think that's so I think that's a great question. And fortunately for me, my son had a great support system, which is myself, my wife, an older sister that was very successful. With him being very competitive, we were able to focus his attention on his athletic ability while at the same time trying to follow in his sister's footsteps. So we knew early on that raising a boy in the inner city brings challenges within itself, right? So we did the best that we could to shield him from some of those challenges by moving out of that environment right before he was born, and then allowing him to attend schools, private schools in a lot of cases, that helped create an environment in which he didn't have to deal with the same things that I had to deal with and overcome. Because when you talk about gang and going culture, a lot of it stems from just peer pressure in the environment in which you are in. When you don't have nothing else to do, you're going to hang with others that don't have nothing else to do. And unfortunately, some cases it works out fine, but in a lot of cases it doesn't. So I think that was critical for us, was really making sure that he stayed active and engaged in his sports, while at the same time creating that competitiveness between him and his sister from an academic standpoint.
The right value systems, right? So it's coming from Pacoima or San Fernando Valley area, I know athletics was everything. Competition was everything. Since I was 5 years old, the schedule was literally football season after football season, then it was basketball season after basketball season, now it's track. And then you go to the JOs, you do track until football season again, right? So your whole value system, since I can just speak to myself, 5 years old, is around being this athlete. And God forbid you're good and you're winning, because now you're getting kind of the feedback and the reassurance that your value is based on how well you do this particular sport. You know, sometimes, as sitting now as a 33-year-old adult looking back at it, I'm like, man, it's probably better if you're not that good, because you have to start at a younger age trying to figure out, other skill sets, right? Other tools, building up other value propositions for yourself that are not tied into your athletic prowess. So I would say, and this is one of the things that I can say that I know differentiated me from some of my peers as I matriculated through on my athletic journey, is that I had a father who had actually gone down that path himself. My dad started, was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, started out at OU, graduated San Fernando High, to the Kennedy Cougar over there. And started out in Oklahoma, and then, so as I started to go down that path, and even as a young age, he always instilled within myself, my brothers, and my sisters that, hey, yeah, you're good, but and you can be as good as you want to be. However, like you have other tools, and we're going to develop those, right? He made it a point, not just my dad, but my mother as well, is like, what do you want to do, when you, after football, right? Football was the big thing, or for me, it was track as well. And my mom used to say, like, Chrissy, you're good at, you like to run your mouth, maybe you should be a lawyer. So I said, okay, and I started trying to develop those skills, what I need to do to be a good lawyer, thinking that and having my parents kind of ask me those questions as I was still a little boy, I think started to, for me within myself, and I know my siblings as well, ask us, what are we? What do we want to be outside of, the athletics? So
sometimes people go into business and then they don't have any life insurance, they don't have any health insurance, they don't have any home insurance. So I had to understand, the same way you work for an institute and they provide that, I had to learn at a young age, I had to provide it for myself. So know that, yeah, you made $15,000, but are you paying your life insurance? Are you paying your health insurance? Do you pay into your Social Security? So it's so much bigger than just your gift and what you're good at. And I'm only telling you this because these are things that I learned on my own very quickly and young, but it's also the detriment that I see when people go into business for yourself, that they don't have these things to fall on when you come into hard time having a 401k. You can create all those things for yourself. So I'm just saying that to say, if you're selling t-shirts, you're not just selling t-shirts, right? Set it up like a business. Go get some mentoring. Understand how to put a little money over here, a little money over there, a little money over there. Because that small t-shirt sale can become a $1 million or $100,000 income for you for the year. So with that being said, just entrepreneurship, anytime you have the gift to make money for yourself and to live off of it, it's your own business. Just set it up, nurture it, and get help to create it and catapult it into the next level. Because a lot of us, we make money, but we spend just as fast as we make it, and that's what slips us through the cracks to just being a hustle and a business. And once I understood that doing hair was not a hustle for me, it was my business, and I'm grateful. And just lastly, learning that over the years and being in business for myself for over 20 years, being able to be a homeowner, being able to put my kids through private school, being able to sustain a salon with staff members, it really made me say, hey, internally it did make me know, wow, you are a solidified business. Because it is very difficult to maintain your lifestyle and be able to take care of yourself and have no one writing you that check. You're depending on yourself to budget and make sure you can take care of you and your family. So just know that if you're making money in any capacity right now, sit down with somebody, allow them to mentor you in how to set it up like a business so you'll have the
What I'm going to invest the rest of my life in. I'm always going to be tied to sports, but this is an important part of it, man, and it's important to me. it's important to me. And a lot of these kids that I love, like my own, I care about, it's a whole lot more of these. And you know, over the years, I get close to the families as well. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. I really appreciate y'all coming out and supporting F.O.E.S.U.P and supporting this first event. And we're going to do some other stuff going forward, man. Thank you.